Hello, I'm Peter Empey, and today I'm going to go through my contribution to Makeover Monday, week 27 of 2020. So the first thing I always like to do is evaluate the original visualization. I always start here because it's good to get an idea of what they were trying to go for, what looks good, what doesn't. And so when I started looking at this one, the first thing I noticed was the very large legend, both vertical height, vertical size, and the width. There's a lot of words in there. There's more words here than there's data represented here, it feels. This is okay, the y-axis here. I do notice that although there's just talking about currency, there's no currency listed with the axes. But what about some things that are done well? The title itself is done really well. The grid lines and the axis markers are minimal, which is good. The font isn't overbearing, so that's good. The colors aren't necessary or aren't helping, but they're also not bad colors. So there's a little bit to work with here. The second thing that I usually do is I try and review the original article. This was just a scholarly article. I reviewed it, read through all of the footnotes, all of the methodologies, as it was a research. And then after I connect the data, I did this from data.world directly into Tableau. The first thing I did was to try and remake the original, just to make sure that I understood the data, make sure I understood what was happening, and so that I could have a good place to start from. And from there I started exploring what other things were in the data. The article itself spoke a lot about, it was just really comparing and stating the facts, and I like to stay with the intent of the original article. I'm not an expert in this field, but I'm trying to be an expert in data visualization. So I want to take the original intent and try and step it up a notch, try and do it just a little bit better. And so if that's possible, I do. But I started looking at other things. I started looking to see what, since the data set included multiple years, what that would look like. I even went to see how much it was changing over time. There was a footnote in the article talking that comparing the dates across time, comparing the values across time may not be meaningful just because of the way the positions come and go. New people are hired, their salaries are different. It felt like it was more, it shouldn't be used to describe the decrease in the pay rates, but it kind of goes both ways, saying that something's changing over time. There might be other unintended influences. So I looked through this a couple different ways just to see how things were changing, even just a cumulative change. But ultimately, I decided that this didn't fit with the intent of the data, the intent of the original article. And so I settled on focusing on the difference, as that all these data points were presented in the text of the original article, to focus on the actual delta. The original seemed to be trying to let you compare all of these different classifications of teacher and their salaries. So by putting that in a more direct comparison, because it didn't feel, they admitted, and it didn't feel like the teacher grade, those weren't comparable, those were expected to be different. So we didn't have to directly compare those, but there were the other data points of the male and female teachers. So I wanted to highlight those. And then just for some more context, I pulled another value that was listed within the text to show what the total average is, the combined of all of the teachers. And so I went with this. I stayed with the original colors. I just reapplied them a little differently so we can use the color encoding to also designate the different grade of teacher. It's not as necessary because they are clearly listed here, but it helps. It's it's not a bad thing. The colors themselves weren't bad, and so I just stuck with the same color palette and applied it there. I toned down the horizontal grid lines. I left the vertical grid lines just to kind of give you the indication of scale, especially also because I'm not including a 0 marker here. I feel that it's, in this context, it's not necessary. We're talking about salaries. We have a decent range. We're not trying to show how different they are from a baseline. We're trying to show the difference between 2 points. And so we can kind of zoom in on that scale and see what it is. We're not hiding the numbers. The scale is even, but salary of 0 also doesn't have any context. So it doesn't seem helpful. I brought a lot of the text that was in the original legend and just made it a subtitle to try and continue to provide that context without having to have it repeated or have it be kind of extraneous or working too much for us. This seems like just a good amount. Kept with a similar title, reformatted just a little bit. That's what I wanted to do for my makeover. I kept it pretty simple. Like I said, I like to keep things kind of at the original intent of the article. So because I know I'm not an expert in it, I'm trying to improve my skill in data visualization. And so I try and practice these little things, just applying the best practices that I know, trying to tweak them, trying to make them that much better and improve upon what's already there. Thank you for watching.